In a world that never stops talking, silence has become revolutionary. Welcome to this exploration of one of humanity's most underrated powers, the art of silence. I'm not talking about the awkward pause in a conversation that makes everyone uncomfortable. I'm talking about strategic silence, a tool so powerful it can transform your relationships, your career, and how people perceive you. Think about the last time you were in a heated argument, or a high-stakes negotiation, or even just trying to make a good impression. How often did you feel the urge to fill every moment with words? To jump in before the other person finished speaking? To defend, explain, or elaborate when perhaps nothing needed to be said at all? Before we dive deeper, if you find value in this exploration of strategic silence, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more content on powerful communication techniques and personal development. Now, let's continue. Today, we're going to uncover why remaining silent at strategic moments might be the most powerful communication skill you'll ever develop. Whether you're trying to win an argument, close a deal, or simply command respect in your daily interactions, mastering the art of silence could be your secret weapon. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just why silence works, but how to use it effectively in different contexts. From ancient philosophical traditions to modern psychological research, we'll explore the science and wisdom behind strategic silence, and I'll share practical techniques you can start using today. Let's begin with a simple truth. The most powerful person in the room is rarely the one doing all the talking. Why does silence make us so uncomfortable? According to research and conversational analysis, most people can only tolerate about 4 seconds of silence before feeling compelled to speak. 4 seconds. That's all it takes for many of us to abandon our position, reveal information we intended to keep private, or agree to terms we might otherwise reject. This discomfort with silence is hardwired into our psychology. Humans are social creatures, and we interpret silence as a potential threat to social harmony. When conversation stops, our brains often perceive it as rejection or disapproval, triggering what neuroscientists call a threat response. This reaction creates a fascinating power dynamic. The person who can tolerate silence longer often gains the upper hand in an interaction. They're perceived as more confident, more thoughtful, and, perhaps most importantly, more in control. Consider what happens in a negotiation when you make an offer and then simply wait. The silence becomes uncomfortable for the other party, who may feel compelled to fill it with concessions, information, or a premature acceptance of your terms. Or think about how we perceive people who speak deliberately, with thoughtful pauses between their statements. Research has shown they're rated as more intelligent, more authoritative, and more trustworthy than those who speak rapidly without pauses. It's not just about perception, though. Silence serves a practical purpose in our mental processes. When we're silent, we give ourselves the gift of time to process information more thoroughly, space to formulate more effective responses, opportunity to observe others' reactions, moments to regulate our emotional responses. As the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein famously said, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." Sometimes the wisest choice is to say nothing at all. The power of silence isn't a modern discovery. Almost every wisdom tradition throughout history has emphasized its importance. In ancient Greek philosophy, Pythagoras required his students to maintain complete silence for 5 years before they were permitted to speak in his presence. This period of imposed silence was considered essential for developing wisdom and learning to speak only when one had something valuable to contribute. In Eastern traditions, silence takes an even more central role. The Buddha taught that noble silence, refraining from idle or harmful speech, was a path to enlightenment. Zen Buddhism elevated silence to an art form through practices like zazen, where practitioners sit in silent meditation to access deeper truths that words cannot express. Even in our modern world, this ancient wisdom resonates. Consider the words of Susan Cain, author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, who writes, "There's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas." Or as Mark Twain humorously put it, "It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." These timeless insights remind us that silence isn't merely the absence of speech. It's a positive force, a presence that creates space for deeper understanding, meaningful connection, and more impactful communication when we do choose to speak. Now, let's explore how silence functions as a tactical advantage in negotiations and persuasive conversations. Former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss calls strategic silence the effective pause, a tool so powerful it can completely alter the dynamics of a high-stakes conversation. In his book, Never Split the Difference, Voss explains how silence after asking a calibrated question forces the other party to elaborate, often revealing crucial information they wouldn't otherwise share. When you make a request or present an offer and then remain silent, you create what negotiation experts call a vacuum of expectation. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so do conversations. The other person will often feel compelled to fill this vacuum, frequently by making concessions or revealing their position. Let me share a powerful example. A sales executive I worked with was negotiating a major contract. After stating his price, which was significantly higher than the client expected, he simply sat back and remained silent. For 27 uncomfortable seconds, I timed it. Neither person spoke. Eventually, the client broke the silence not with a rejection, but with a question about payment terms. By resisting the urge to justify his price or offer a discount, the executive maintained his position and ultimately closed the deal at his asking price. This technique works because of what psychologists call the anchoring effect. The first number mentioned in a negotiation serves as an anchor point, and silence after stating your position reinforces that anchor rather than undermining it with justifications or concessions. But strategic silence isn't just for formal negotiations. It's equally powerful in everyday persuasive conversations. When you make a compelling point and then pause rather than immediately defending or explaining it, you give the other person time to absorb and internalize your message. You show confidence in your position. And most importantly, you avoid the common mistake of talking yourself out of a win. Remember, the person who speaks least often controls the conversation. Beyond its strategic advantages, silence has a profound impact on our relationships through its role in active listening. Most people don't actually listen. They merely wait for their turn to speak. True listening requires silence not just externally, but internally. It means quieting that voice in your head that's busy formulating your next point while the other person is still talking. Psychologist Carl Rogers, who pioneered the concept of active listening, observed that being truly heard is one of the most powerful experiences a person can have. When we offer someone our silent attention, not interrupting, not judging, not preparing our response, we create space for genuine connection. This kind of attentive silence communicates something profound. You matter. What you're saying is important to me. In both personal and professional relationships, this message builds trust and deepens bonds in ways that words alone cannot achieve. Consider these scenarios where silence enhances your listening and strengthens relationships. When someone shares something painful or difficult, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or relate it to your own experience. Instead, allow a moment of silence to honor their vulnerability. When receiving feedback, fight the natural impulse to defend yourself. A moment of silence gives you time to absorb the feedback without reacting emotionally, and signals to the other person that you're taking their input seriously. When someone is thinking through a problem aloud, your silence provides them the mental space to process their thoughts without interruption, often helping them reach insights they wouldn't have discovered if you had jumped in with your own ideas. The Roman philosopher Seneca observed that speech is a mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he. Perhaps we might add, as a person listens in silence, so are they revealed to be wise. Now that we understand the power of silence, how do we actually incorporate it into our daily interactions? Here are 5 practical techniques you can begin using immediately. First, the 3-second rule. After someone finishes speaking, count silently to 3 before responding. This brief pause accomplishes several things. It ensures they've completed their thought, it gives you time to formulate a thoughtful response, and it subtly communicates that you're considering their words carefully rather than simply waiting for your turn to talk. Second, the strategic pause. When making an important point, pause for a moment afterward. Don't undermine your statement with qualifiers or justifications. Let it hang in the air. This technique adds weight to your words and creates space for them to resonate with your listener. Third, the comfort challenge. Practice being comfortable with silence by gradually increasing your tolerance. Start by setting aside 5 minutes daily for silent reflection. Then, challenge yourself to maintain silence in increasingly uncomfortable conversational situations, after asking an important question, when receiving criticism, or during negotiations. Fourth, the question and wait. Ask a thoughtful, open-ended question, and then wait. Don't rescue the other person from the silence, even if it stretches longer than feels comfortable. You'll be amazed at the depth of response this technique often elicits, as people fill the silence with thoughts they might otherwise keep to themselves. Fifth, the mindful response. Before important conversations, remind yourself, I don't need to respond to everything. Some statements, provocations, or questions are best met with silence. Ask yourself, does responding serve my purpose here? If not, silence may be your most powerful option. Like any skill, mastering silence takes practice. You'll likely feel uncomfortable at first. That's normal. But with consistent practice, strategic silence will become one of your most valuable communication tools. Remember what the Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Your silence is not emptiness. It's a space filled with attention, consideration, and power. As we come to the end of our exploration, consider this. In a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, the person who knows when to remain silent stands out. Silence is not weakness. It's not the absence of thought or the lack of something to say. Strategic silence is a deliberate choice, a communication tool that often speaks louder than words ever could. Whether you're negotiating an important deal, building deeper relationships, or simply trying to communicate with more impact, the art of silence offers a path to greater effectiveness and wisdom. The next time you feel the urge to fill a conversational void, to justify your position, or to interrupt someone before they've finished speaking, pause. Take a breath. Embrace the power of silence. In that moment of restraint, you may discover what countless wise voices throughout history have known. Sometimes, the most profound statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the art of silence. If you found value in these insights, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on effective communication and personal development. Until next time, remember the words of the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. Silence is a source of great strength.